Hi, good evening, my dears of grade 10. How are you all? Hope you are fine and safe there. Today is 4th April 2020. Today we are going to learn about a new topic, adaptive features. Adaptive features. You might have heard about this word adaptation in the last year unit, right? Last year's lessons you already learned this topic adaptation. So now if you are opening your course book, page number 250, you can see here the word adaptive features. Okay, so of course, as I told you, the adaptive features are related to the adaptation. Okay, adaptation of organisms. Organisms means plants and animals. Okay, adaptation of plants and animals. Okay, so here how it's coming, the adaptation topic is coming in the variation unit. How? As I told you before, variation is the differences between the in the same species, right? Differences in the same species of organisms. Maybe it can be continuous, maybe it can be discontinuous, as we told before. And continuous variations are controlling by genes and environmental factors, and discontinuous variation can be happened because of the genes. Okay, here in the adaptive features, every organism has features that help to survive in the environment. Okay, each and every organism has their own special characters to survive in their own environment, right? So as we learned before, for the example, the chameleon can camouflage and change its color to escape from its predators, right? So the same way, each organism has their own adaptations to survive in that environment, right? So here you can see, for example, some of the fish, all fish have gills that allow them to obtain oxygen underwater. But different species of fish have adaptation that help them to survive in different environments. Fish that live on sand. Okay, some of the fish live on the sand, in shallow water, may have very flat sand colored bodies. Why do they have sand colored body? To protect themselves from the predators. Okay, it's an example of adaptation of that fish. Okay, and you can say to kill the prey. Okay, to kill their prey, it uses to kill that prey. And here, if you are looking the definition in the page number 251, you can see the definition of adaptive features. What is an adaptive features? An inherited feature that helps an organism to survive and reproduce in its environment, or in another word we can say the inherited functional features of an organism that increases its fitness. So you want to know what do you mean by fitness? Sometimes we always tell you are not fit to do this one, you are not fit enough to do this one, right? Fit means what? Fitness means what? The probability of an organism surviving and reproducing in the environment in which is found, or in which the environment it is living. Okay, the probability of that organism, the percentage of living for that organism and surviving to that environment. Okay, that's called fitness. And an animal or a plant is well adapted to its environment is much more likely to survive than one that is not. Okay, so biologists often use the word fitness to describe how well adapted an organism is. Okay, so according to this adaptation, we want to learn some of the characters of xerophytes and the hydrophytes. Okay, we want to know about the xerophytes, and in the next page number 252, you can see the hydrophytes. As the word indicates, xerophytes are the plants that growing in the desert places or in the dry region, and the hydrophytes are the plants that living in the water. Okay, so we want to learn about the specialities, adaptations of the xerophytes and the hydrophytes. Okay, Before that, have a look on the computer. I will tell again the definitions. You can see here simply, adaptive features is an inherited feature that helps an organism to survive and reproduce in that environment. Then fitness, you can see down, fitness, it is the probability of that organism surviving and reproducing in the environment in which it is found. Okay, adaptations of arid condition. Arid means, as I told you, the xerophytes. Okay, in the dry condition, the plants that are growing in dry conditions. Okay, in both hot and cold climate, plants may suffer from water shortage. High temperatures accelerate evaporation from leaves. Okay, some of the characters you can see here. Plants modified to cope with lack of water are called xerophytes. Okay, for examples are, you can see here, cacti, maram grass, pine tree. These are the examples of xerophytes. Okay, and if you are looking down, you can see about the information about the hydrophytes. Hydrophytes are, you can see here, the plants that adapted to living in water are called hydrophytes. Example is water lily and lotus. You can say another one, lotus. Okay, the leaves contain large air spaces to make them buoyant. Buoyancy you already learned in the chapter of forces in grade 9, right? So buoyancy means what? The floating on water, right? They are the leaves of the water lily and the lotus. They are floating on the water. That's why they are called buoyant. Okay, buoyant. This word buoyant. So they can float on the near the leaves. Okay. Then it enables them to gain light for photosynthesis. So if they are floating on the water, the leaves can get the sunlight easily to do the photosynthesis. Okay, then the lower epidermis lacks stomata to prevent water entering the air spaces, while stomata are present on the upper epidermis for gas exchange. Okay, so these are the adaptation of xerophyte and the hydrophytes, and the examples of xerophytes are cacti, pine tree, maram grass, and here you can say for hydrophytes, water lily and lotus. Okay, and now I will show you the pictures of these plants. You can see here the hydrophytes. Okay, hydrophytes and the xerophytes. See, look here. First one, they are talking about the hydrophytes. Plants adapted to live extremely wet condition or in water. Okay, large air spaces in their leaves. You can see small roots and stomata usually open all the time and mainly found on the upper epidermis. Okay, you can see here the diagram of the hydrophyte or water lily or a lotus. You can see the same thing. What are the adaptations for these plants? Hydrophyte adaptations. Okay, you can see large air spaces in leaves and flat leaves. Why large air spaces in flat leaves and the flat leaves? See, the flat leaves can absorb more sunlight to do the photosynthesis, and here also you can see the small roots, and again you can see here stomata concentrated on the upper epidermis. Okay, not the down, not in the down part, upper epidermis. You can see the stomata to do the more evaporation or transpiration. Okay, because they are growing in water. Then if you are looking down, you can see the adaptations of the xerophytes. Okay, xerophyte or the plants that growing in the dry condition or they are growing in desert. Okay, like a cacti, like cactus plant. Okay, they have a thick waxy cuticle. They have thick waxy cuticle. They have small leaves, usually needle shaped. Okay, small leaves with needle shape. You can see here, they can see needle shaped small leaves. Then shallow extensive root system. You can see down the shallow extensive root system and thickened stem that act as a reservoir to store water. Okay, because they are not getting water, enough water all the time. as they are growing in the deserts, okay, dry conditions. So they wanted to store the plants whenever they are getting. So the thickened stem, they have to store the water, okay. So these are the adaptations of the xerophytes and the hydrophytes, okay. Xerophytes or the cacti plant, they have thick waxy cuticle to prevent water loss, okay, and sunken stomata or closed stomata or sinking, okay, stomata. Moist air trapped here lengthens the diffusion pathway and reduces evaporation rate, okay. So the evaporation rate will be less, loss of water will be less. Then the leaf rolled with the stomata inside and inner surface of covered in hairs, okay. This also help in transpiration reduction. Then small leaves, okay. Many xerophytic plants have small needle shaped leaves which reduce the surface area and therefore evaporating surface will be reduced. And extensive shallow roots, they have small needle shaped extensive shallow roots allowing for the quick absorption of larger quantities of water, okay, allowing the quick absorption of large quantities of water because they are not getting enough water for all the lifetime. If they are getting, they wanted to absorb and store it more faster. Thickened leaves or stems which contain cells that stores water. So these are the adaptations of xerophytes, and this is the example of xerophyte. And if you are looking here, you can see the water lily, and this is the hydrophyte, and these are the adaptations of water lily or hydrophytes. These are the things you want to learn in this